How's it going, everybody? So could you even figure out what you were looking at? So what we are looking at here is a frogfish, which is a very curious fish. This is one of these animals which is rare in a lot of other locations, but it's fairly common in Dauin on Negros Island. Now here you can see the eye, so now you can probably figure out where the front and where the back of this fish is. And this fish is camouflaged as a rock overgrown with such an orange sponge, and there are actually a lot of rocks in the area. Now the frogfish is yawning. This could be a threat signal that I came too close with my camera, or it could be a way of stretching these muscles in the jaw. It's not completely clear what actually the function is, in my opinion. Now, why would it be important to stretch these muscles? So these fishes lie in weight predators, so they are very difficult to spot for humans and also for smaller fish. So a small fish coming close would immediately be grabbed by this frogfish, and then that's what they feed on. So they really preserve a lot of energy by not moving very much, and then they just look at the environment. Again, here you have the eye, a close-up of the eye, and if a small prey fish comes by, they would grab it. So this one is Antennarius commerson, or the giant frogfish. So the Antennaridae are these shallow water frogfish which we see quite a bit in Dauin, and the commerson's frogfish is the biggest one. Here again you see a wide-angle view, and this one decided to make home on this entanglement of ropes which put a buoy in place. Now the frogfishes, there are many of them, and there are actually lots of interesting species, some which might not even be properly described yet. Fish base has good selection, has all the known species. This is a smaller species, juvenile. This might be Antennarius maculatus. It's difficult to ID them precisely, except really for the giant frogfish, just because of its size. So this animal grows to about the size of a volleyball, whereas we see a lot of smaller species, and then we see juveniles of the smaller species, which sometimes are really only just a couple of millimeters in length. So this is another one of these trends that on this in ecology, in these muck diving sites, we see tiny animals. Now, they prefer not to swim, even though they can, and their pectoral fins have adapted in evolution to more of a standing and walking type of limb. So here you can see the pectoral fin, which is essentially the arm of the fish, and it's using it to keep itself in place on this rope. Quite interesting that there are actually a lot of fish which prefer not to swim. Now we have another individual of a much smaller species. You see how well camouflaged it is. It's really matching the color of these algae overgrown rocks and the texture in its environment, and without the breathing movement, so of course fish need to pump fresh water with a higher oxygen content over their gills. Without that, it would be very hard to even spot them. And yeah, this fuzzy nature of its skin, which is probably partially actual skin and partially algae, makes it very well camouflaged. You could just see how it moved its pectoral fin to stabilize its position in between these pebbles. Now, these animals are in a group of, in a what are called Lophophoridae, so the anglerfishes as a whole. There are lots of relatives of these in the deep sea, and these shallow water frogfish are actually really a smaller group. So this is a takeout from a paper that it's in the description. So there are lots of really amazing deep water animals, and these are the ones which have this very unusual reproductive strategy, that the females are large and the males are tiny, and they essentially act as parasites. So they fuse to the female and they reduce all organs other than the reproductive organs, the testes, and then they provide sperm to the female and don't feed for themselves anymore. So this is a strategy which has evolved multiple times in these deep water fish. This is not what these shallow water frogfish are doing. And again, here you see the breathing movements quite well. Now, the question for the longest time was, how are the shallow water frogfish related to all these deep water frogfish? So the paper, which again I'm putting the citation in the description, shows a very nice family tree, phylogenetic tree, which shows how the shallow water frogfish and a couple of other groups like the handfish, which are native to Tasmania in Australia, are related to this deep water frogfish. And these, it seems that the majority of the biodiversity of the frogfish is found in the abyss of the ocean. So what you're looking at here is essentially a rare form which still makes it on the shallow reef. So this is generally a trend I see in evolution. We see in evolution quite a bit that some groups of fishes move to deep water, and they're very prevalent and prolific there. And there are still a few groups which live in shallow water, and these groups often have unusual ecological niches. So this is an extreme dependence on camouflage. This is a very low energy lifestyle. They barely move, and this is quite unlike a lot of the other shallow water bony fishes which we see. Here again, you see the frogfish move. They're typically not much more active than this. Now, as usual, I hope you have enjoyed this presentation and you have enjoyed the footage. If you would like to support the channel, please leave a comment, like and share. I also put my PayPal in the description if you want to directly contribute. So I'll add a little bit of footage of anemone fish at the end, and this is a good way to chill out and to enjoy your Tuesday evening or whatever weekday it is when you're watching this, and see you next week.